It's 2024 and you're sick and tired of working at Walmart and you're thinking about getting into IT so you can just chill at the house and tell people to reboot their computers. I don't blame you, but in this video I'm going to actually give you 5 reasons on why you shouldn't get into the IT field. The grass ain't always greener on the other side, and I'm going to let you know why. Let's get into it. You're looking at a new career field and you're thinking about cybersecurity or IT because there's thousands of jobs out there and a lot of them come with fat paychecks, and I don't blame you. But like I said before, the grass ain't always greener. I've been in IT for about 8 years now, and it seems like every day I find another reason why I want to jump ship. And it's honestly why you see my dumb face on YouTube now. It's also the same reason why I got this awesome hairline right here and why I want to punch a motherfucker every day. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into my top 5 reasons on why you shouldn't get into IT. Starting with reason number 1. A real quick side note, if you guys are getting into the IT career field, you like tech, looking into certifications, or all things IT like home labbing, make sure you drop a sub down below. When I hit 500 subs, I'll be giving away a Raspberry Pi 5, and I cover all those things and more. Alright, back to the video. So reason number 1 why you might not want to get into IT is because it comes with a lot of grinding. There's non-stop, constant grinding. If you think you're just going to get your 4-year degree and maybe one certification, you're Gucci, I'm going to tell you right now, you're in for a rude awakening. To be competitive in the market, everyone's going to expect you to have a few different certifications. Let's say if you're trying to become a network engineer, they're probably going to expect at least a CCNA, the Cisco Certified Network Associate, or even a CCNP. And if you're trying to get into be a server admin, they're probably going to be looking for some sort of Linux certification or Windows certification. If you're trying to get into cybersecurity, you're obviously going to need your Security Plus, especially if you're trying to get into the Department of Defense type jobs where you need to be an IAT level 2 or 3. And there's so many other certs out there, but all of those require a crap load of studying. Some of them are very in-depth in one specific technology, which is generally not the case. And like the majority of the other ones, they're going to be a miles wide worth of content. And generally they're going to be an inch deep, but there's a lot of them out there where I'm like, dang, how you expect me to know all this? And then also know like several layers deep of knowledge in the certification. And these certifications aren't cheap. On average, it's about $300 to take a test. And some of these certifications require several tests, like the CCNP, the Cisco Certified Network Professional. That's what I'm trying to take right now. I took the first exam for it last year and passed. And now I've taken the second one for design because I'm trying to get into enterprise design. I've taken it twice now and failed it both times, and man, the price on that starts to add up, and it's got me wanting to choke somebody out. You look at the exam objectives for a lot of these things and they seem like they're pretty straightforward, but then they go so deep into some of the topics, it just takes forever, and it takes months and months of studying sometimes just to be able to pass that one exam. And not to mention, it's just not reading a book. They've got all these different official certification guides out there that should help you pass the exam, but it's never enough. You generally going to at least need to read 1 to 2 books. You're going to at least need some sort of video series to solidify that. You'll probably have to look at some sort of white papers to get a little bit more in-depth knowledge, and maybe even practice tests. And all that adds up sometimes to be even more than what the test is itself. And that's still not even guaranteed to make sure that you actually pass. So these things add up, and they are very, very expensive, and something you're going to have to do for multiple certifications. Not to mention, generally they expire every 3 years. So you're going to have to do some sort of continuing education to earn credits and renew your certification, which still comes at a cost because you're going to have to pay some sort of renewal fee, or you have to take another exam that's either at the same level or above for just about every certification vendor in order to renew your certification. It's always learning, it's never stopping, and there's been times where you think you're getting a job where it's a network engineer, and you've got a crap load of experience in Cisco, and you actually get into the job and realize they are only using Juniper, or they're only using Aruba, whatever it is. So your certification might not mean anything to them at that point. And also another thing to consider with these certifications that you might need for some jobs, just because you're a network engineer doesn't mean you only need network specific certifications. A lot of them are expecting you to be a jack of all trades. They want you to know some sort of coding, so they're generally going to want some sort of Python, which means you might want to either at least get the experience or even also look into a certification for it. Or they also might want you to know some sort of VMware technology, so they might want you to get your VMware Certified Professional certification, or certification in VMware's NSXT. They're going to want you to have multiple certifications, and these things cost a lot and take a very long time. So it's always a constant grind. Every year I'm doing some sort of certification. I've got a whole bunch of them at this point, but it's come at a cost, and it's going to take a lot of your free time. So it's not just working your regular 9 to 5. You're going to be doing a lot afterwards. That 5 to 10 or whatever it is at night is going to definitely come up a lot for you. And it's not just certifications that you need to study and looking at books. There's a lot of times where you're going to need some sort of lab environment, whether it's emulating stuff or having actual gear, and you're going to have to sit there repeatedly going through and messing with different technologies so that you can actually get familiar with them. It's hands-on, it's all kinds of stuff that you're going to have to do, and it's always grinding. It never stops. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into reason number 2 on why you shouldn't get into IT. So like any other career field, you're going to obviously end up working with somebody that you don't like, you're probably not going to vibe with very much, or you would never talk to in your entire life if it wasn't for the job. And that's definitely the same thing with IT. I've met a range of personalities in the IT career field, all the way from the 40-year-old virgin to someone who might rob you in an alleyway if he saw you off work. And of course, generally IT is going to attract those nerds, those guys who probably have no sort of social skills, and it actually kind of makes it harder to work with them sometimes. I know I don't have the greatest personality, but these guys, oh my gosh. I'm telling you, I've worked with some guys who seem like they've been homeschooled their entire life and have no real social skills and know how to actually talk to somebody. Because some of these guys work from home, they don't have to talk to anybody. They think they're keyboard warriors. These guys will talk to you any sort of way, and they got me wanting to come over to their house, and you could tell their moms never beat their because they just be talking any way that they want, and it is insane. And some of them end up actually being your leaders, so they're going to talk to you that way and degrade you. And I got one guy right now that I work with that if I saw him, I ain't even going to get into it. But it's not just your coworkers, it's going to be your customers too. You're going to always have somebody, especially if you're in a break-fix type job. These guys don't understand that you've got more than one person and more than one ticket that you got to deal with. You could have an entire site down, and Becky with her laptop is coming over trying to nag you. Becky, if you don't get back, I'm gonna... Sometimes you're going to have project managers that are assigned to projects you might have. Let's say you're a network engineer and you have to design a network. And these project managers are going to have unrealistic expectations. I'm telling you, there's so many times I've had to tell these program managers that they need to take a step back and pump the brakes. But all they see is a date, and they're trying to hit that date repeatedly over and over, and they're going to continuously bug you. So that's just something you have to take into mind as well. Anyways, that's just the same problem with every other job. But let's go ahead and get into reason number 3 on why you guys shouldn't get into IT. The reason number 3 on why you're probably not going to want to get into IT is because a lot of the IT jobs are being outsourced. Just like every company in the world, there's always going to be looking for ways to cut costs. And one thing that they generally never see as a benefit or a thing that's actually helping them earn money is the IT department. So they're going to be looking to outsource that to somewhere else that's a lot cheaper if they can, which is going to make it a lot harder for you to get in if those jobs are being outsourced. And in fact, experts in 2023 estimated that about 30 to 40% of the jobs were actually outsourced to other places like India. Why should they pay you $100,000 when they can get Al-Shabaab in India to do it for about $2.50? And he's not going to complain at all that he has to work weekends or that he has to work over 40 hours. It just makes more sense for them to outsource it if they can. And I can't lie, those guys are smart. I've seen them do all kinds of things on YouTube with a Windows 98 laptop, 2 gigs of RAM, a paperclip, and you can even hear the baby yelling in the back. And they're sitting over there, programming all of Google, and they'll do it for a fraction of the cost of what it would take for you to do it. But let's go ahead and get into reason number 4 on why you guys shouldn't get into IT. So reason number 4 on why you shouldn't get into IT is because not only are the jobs being outsourced to India, but they're also being replaced by AI. Since the introduction of ChatGPT in 2022, many tech experts have been concerned about the fact that AI is going to eliminate their jobs and send their packing. AI has a stacked resume, and it has many different skills that include code creation and review, data entry, assisting in troubleshooting IT-related issues, and many other things that have many IT professionals sweating balls. IT professionals like myself are already seeing a lot of jobs starting to disappear with the introduction of automation and software-defined networking. And now we have to deal with AI getting tag teamed into the match to hit us with the nastiest stone cold stunner you've ever seen in your life. The industry is always looking to cut costs, like I was saying before, and now they have AI who will work 24/7 and doesn't need a smoke break, so it should have you concerned. AI is not just ChatGPT, of course. It's software baked into many of these different IT softwares that can provide network monitoring services, attempt to troubleshoot IT issues, do trivial tasks like data entry, and automate many other tasks with little to no errors. Those are just a few of the things that it can do, and honestly, it's looking like it can replace a lot of the entry-level jobs, which might make it harder to get into the IT field if you're just starting out. And the bad thing about AI is this is the worst it's ever going to be. It's only going to continue to get better and better and better, and honestly, it's going to outpace you and I in our studies. So IT might not be the field you want to get into if you don't want to be fighting with AI and India at the same time. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into reason number 5 on why you shouldn't get into IT. But reason number 5 on why you're not going to want to get into IT is mainly because of the hours and stress. There are so many different IT components, both hardware and software, that constantly need to be patched, updated, configured, and honestly just crap the bed sometimes. And that means a lot of your work, especially with the upgrades and patching and like that, and all that kind of stuff, is going to have to be done off business hours because they impact business services, which are bringing in the moolah for the company, and they don't want that down during business hours. So you're going to see a lot of times where you're working off hours, generally 1 in the morning, you'll be sitting there looking at the back of a stupid server, trying to figure out why a patch messed up. And you'll have a deadline. Obviously, you need to have your services back up before work starts, and it can be very stressful. There's been many times where I've worked over 20 hours on something because a change or something didn't go right, and it ends up being some sort of bug that you couldn't even plan for even if you tried. And depending on the size of the IT team that you're working for, just because you finish working at 1 a.m. doesn't mean you can come in later on. You sometimes need to be back at 08:30 sharp because you might need to be able to support daytime operations. So it can be very stressful. Not to mention, depending on your role in IT, you might end up on call 24/7 for like a week span or whatever. Many IT roles, especially in support and operations, require being on call 24/7, leading to unpredictable work hours and difficulty in maintaining that work-life balance that you're looking for. And guess when those emergency calls are generally coming in? At 1 o'clock in the morning when you least expect it. And when all these emergencies come in and they start to impact the business, the CEO or whoever it is with the 3-letter acronym does not care what the reason is. The only thing he sees is profit loss. And that profit loss is going to come out of your paycheck, or it's going to come out on your ass if you don't get it back up ASAP. So it's just going to constantly have you stressing. I don't know how many hours I've spent planning and
5 minutes later,
planning changes to make sure that I have every detail figured out, as well as labbing it all up to make sure everything runs smoothly so I can avoid having changes go south. But sometimes you just can't help it. There's some sort of bug or something that was overlooked that causes you to end up working more hours than you were expecting that week. Not to mention, your company will expect you to provide every service available to enhance production while having the highest security possible with a lemonade stand budget. They want that redundancy, they want the highest security, but they're not going to give you any funding for it and expect you to be able to make it work with $2. It can make it very stressful, but overall, of course, it's just like any other job, it always comes with stress. But anyways, those are my 5 reasons on why you shouldn't get into IT. Of course, there's always downsides, just like every other career field, and these might not nearly be as bad as, bricklaying or something like that. There's downsides to everything, and there's some positives. There's a lot of positives in IT, especially once you start getting higher up. There's some jobs where you're going to be, very comfortable, but especially in the beginning, you're going to be in the trenches trying to make it work. And these are just some reasons that you're going to want to take into account when you're looking into getting into IT. But anyways, let me know if you guys are getting into IT. I appreciate you guys for sticking around. Make sure you drop a comment down below and subscribe so you can get entered in that Raspberry Pi 5 giveaway when I hit 500 subscribers. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.